Well, good evening, everybody. Firstly, welcome to you all. It's wonderful to see you all here, as always. Thank you very much for popping in to say hello to myself and Cam. We've got it's a really busy week, got some interesting things to share and have a chat about, as always. And yeah, and secondly, of course, apologies for the delay in kickoff. I had a little bit of a dog emergency. Those of you who have Labradors know that they have a tendency to eat all sorts of wonderful things. This one ate a dog roll with plastic on it, so a quick shimmy down to the vet. I could have done without, but anyway, all's good. And we're here, and we're good to go. How are you going, Cam?
I'm going great. I'm going great. Great to be here again, guys. Thanks for joining. And how's the dog?
Dog is okay. He's feeling a little bit sorry for himself um, after the dramas of the vet, but he seems to
Okay.
quite enjoy the whole thing. But yeah, anyway, all's good, all's good. Yeah, we'll just say hi to a few people who have said hello already. Good day to Roger and Gunnar and Brian and Michael. Good evening to you, Wayne, and Ewan and Johnny. Lots of wonderful people here, as always. And Bob and James and Jean. Your dog like to eat tennis balls. Yes, I can. I hear. I hear. Good day, Simon and Simon. Wonderful. Okay, so as I said, we've got a really busy week. Um, Staggeringly busy, in fact, and it doesn't stop. It just continues. We started yesterday, and we're gathering steam as we go, it seems. So we'll try and unpick all of the nonsense, all of the chit chat, all of the events coming up, and put our particular slant on them. So new equity highs last week, and continuing. It looks like. Cam, what do you think? Are you surprised? Are you
Yes and no. I mean, I did a review with the guys this morning, and certainly the NASDAQ to me. Actually, maybe let me just have a look at the NASDAQ, because I was saying to the guys that look, it's just creeping higher, and when we see those little bars slowly creeping higher, it's not a good time to technically short it, you know. At the moment, I think the DAX is a completely different picture, and the DAX is
Oh
sort
no,
of
that's it.
sitting in
Yes.
its range. But yeah, can you see that, how that's going, Mike? And often when
Yeah.
I see that kind of picture, and as we've talked about in a few episodes ago, maybe we can look at the VIX, see how the VIX is going. But that to me
Yeah.
says ATR is dropping. We've settled above kind of some of my key target levels, certainly in the NASDAQ, and at the moment set to go higher. So I'm not surprised at where it's at, but I mean, I think, is it anybody's guess where this could go this week? I mean, it could go, if there's a slight hint that September the rates are going to come down, or a very, not even slight hint, but a positive hint that September we're on for the cuts, that there's something. I mean, it's beyond past due, and we'll come on to the Fed, but that could push things. We've got every single company and his dog with earnings this week as well. So some key ones with Apple. Myself, I'll be looking at MSTR, but you've got stocks like Robinhood as well. So and everything seems pretty strong. So at the moment, to me, am I surprised? No. At the
Yeah.
moment, I just expect higher pricing, but I'm aware of the T-man, that anything
Yes.
could happen. Yeah.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah, and of course, it's as you said, there's lots going on for the markets to digest. We'll talk about a few of these in a bit more detail, but we haven't got time to talk about everything because there's so much going on. But it is, of course, first week of the month, and that's US Jobs Week. Um, is coming up, We've obviously got ADP tomorrow, weekly on Thursday, and then non-farm payrolls on Friday, just in case we didn't have enough to think about.
Just in case,
It's
exactly.
Yeah, just in case. Yeah, we'll talk about we'll talk about Trump versus Powell in a moment, with the Fed chair obviously in the crosshairs, and just a couple of things that we're going to talk about in a bit more detail. We're going to have a chat about trade talks, a bit more on US earnings, and of course, as Cam's already referenced, markets just look as though they want to continue to go higher and higher, with very little getting in the way at the minute, it seems.
Oh, I mean, what do you
Okay,
think on that,
so
Mike? Are you of the same opinion that you just think this is going to grind higher, or what's your thoughts at the moment?
yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, as I said, we're going to talk about earnings in a moment, but staggeringly good. I mean, we referenced this last time when we met, that there was um, quite a few doubting Thomases kicking around in terms of where valuations were at the moment. But
Mm.
and the market itself predicted a possible good earnings season, and it's surpassing that. This,
Yeah.
in terms of expectations, is as good as I can remember at this stage. I mean, I know we're only a third of the way through, but and we'll chat about that later. But there ain't anything like earnings to help markets go higher. And then there's a few other things, of course, we're going to chat about, like trade talk. So, in light of what's coming across the wires, I think it's supported, and so I'm not surprised. Every time you think there may be a new challenge, there's something pops along that says, well, actually, it's okay. So it feels high,
Mhm.
but as you said, there's no signs at this stage that it may be time to stop thinking it's going to go higher. It just appears to be doing what it should when faced with relative good news. Um, on the news front, of course, one of the key factors and one of the key what you would think would be a little bit of a drag on the market would be the Fed likelihood that they're not going to do anything, of course, on Wednesday, tomorrow, when they unless Trump slapped him very hard. Um, but it's going to be September before we see any Fed action to the downside. Um, but obviously, along with um, Trump's historic implications and re-Epstein, the major distractions seem to have been Obama and his ongoing feud with Jerome Powell. And you put through this little post here, which was really really interesting, as well as being quite entertaining, of course. Um, so do you want to just talk through this a little bit in terms of what's going on with Mr. Powell and Mr. Trump and
Oh, sorry, Mike. Did you put
these
that? Did you
shenanigans?
put that next slide up? I didn't. I don't see it
I
there.
did. Sorry,
Uh,
I should have. Did I pause it actually? Hang on.
yeah, maybe,
Uh,
maybe.
maybe I paused. I guess I have paused. There we go. There we go. I paused.
Yeah.
Um,
This is really interesting. So, like, this came across my desk on Friday. That these guys basically sued the Fed. Um, Sued the Fed to have an open, live Fed meeting for transparency. Um, and actually, the judge picked it up, and it was, I think they were due to, what day are we on? We're on Tuesday. So they were due to meet yesterday. As we spoke this morning, Mike, I couldn't see so much about it, but it looks like the Fed meeting is going to go ahead behind closed doors. But I really thought it was a really interesting case, in the sense that, yeah, everybody is wondering why the Fed are not dropping rates. They are, yes, independent, but paid by the US taxpayer. And the ability to see what's going on in those meetings, or who's for or against the cuts, would be really, really interesting. And I just thought, what would be the ramifications from a trading perspective? if we could actually see into the Fed meetings, and if there'll be a push in future. I think this one's been quashed, but it'd be great for these guys to be public and transparent about, well, how are they making key decisions? I mean, at the moment, there's a complete there's a complete blockage of the housing market in the US because people are stuck. They can't sell. They can't get the capital. Well, the housing market's bad anyway, so they're going to sell for a reduced rate. They've locked in, good interest rates, and if they sell, then they're going to have to remortgage at higher interest rates. So yeah, I think that there's a need for, okay, well, if you're not going to do it, if you're not going to reduce the rates, why? And what's behind it? So I felt that was interesting from that perspective. I also felt, wow, from a trading perspective, what insight would we get, before the actual announcement of what they were
For
doing, and
sure.
how would that affect everything as we go into, what is very much a tradable situation, down
Oh,
to, I mean, I
absolutely.
guess on the betting markets, they're betting, what kind of tie you'll have or how long you'll go on for.
Yeah, I mean, even the implications of how hawkish or otherwise individual Fed members are, that may influence if
Mm.
there's a perception in change of from 9 to 3 to 11 to 12. I mean, it could be, um, and as you say, you'll get a feeling beyond what's in the statement. I mean, I know that certainly the press conferences have more clout in terms of market movements than certainly I can remember. So the last sort of 4 or 5 years, press conferences have actually taken a new, um, post-pandemic particularly, taken a new importance. Whereas they didn't used to, from my memory, they didn't used to move markets potentially as they could have. So they would argue, I think, the Fed, that they're possibly more transparent than they've ever been. But this would be, as you say, it would be a whole new layer of transparency, and you would see dramatic market movements during the decision making, based on even
100%.
alterations in pros and in fors and againsts. And it would be fascinating as hell as well. I'd love to see it, just to get that insight into some of the thinking behind the headlines, if you like, and behind the soundbite stuff that Jerome Powell will be obliged to share in the press conferences.
Yeah,
So
and,
yeah,
and actually to see, are they actually working there, or
yeah.
is it a foregone conclusion, and with all of the amount of boffins that they have over there, their PhDs and everything. Well, what do you guys? How did you come to this?
In two
So
days,
that I think, yeah,
not in
yeah,
2 hours. What are you
right,
talking about?
exactly.
2 days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting just to see, and to see the dialogue, and to see what their actual thinking behind all this is.
Right.
But anyway,
I don't
we're
think
not
this
gonna
is going
we're,
to be.
we're not gonna see it.
No, I mean, look, we might. I don't think this is going to go away. Particularly, you can expect the next round of uh, of Trump's not so kind posts and name calling. I'm sure after Wednesday's pause. But yeah, fascinating stuff in the whole picture of stuff. In terms of the other news, of course, trade talks have taken central stage. We had that August the 1st deadline. Of course, we spoke last time about what was happening to things like copper, whose 50% tariff comes into effect on the 1st of August. But of course, there was the eurozone was a big talking point, which were originally expected to go to 30% unless a deal was made. And of course, we got the news over the weekend. Was it, Kev?
Yeah, yeah, it came in. I think it was
About
Sunday. I was
yeah,
watching it on well, not watching it, but listening to it on my walk. So, but yeah, it seems like they've just steamrolled. They've come in
yeah,
and completely steamrolled Europe.
yeah.
And it looks like the talks were were not so long.
No, indeed, it seemed
And
to turn around really quickly, didn't it?
Europe have bent the knee.
Yeah. Yes, fascinating stuff. Of course, then we've got the big one, which is China. And of course, we already had last time. Again, I think it was before we met last time, or as we were meeting last time, um, the US. I don't think I've articulated that well, but obviously the US lifted their tech exports restrictions to China. And of course, NVIDIA have been a beneficiary of that, which we'll no doubt reference later. But of course, we had talks yesterday and more today, I believe, planned because their deadline was slightly different to everybody else's. I think it was the 12th of August. And although there wasn't anything solid coming out of yesterday's meeting that I could gather, I don't know what you picked up. The fact that they're talking seemed to suggest that another 90-day pause was potentially on the cards, and even a few commentators suggesting that despite the fact that these are fairly complex talks, that both sides have got leverage with obviously the China holding the rare earths card as an example, that there was a potential meeting in the offing if there was a 90-day pause between Trump and President Xi, which would be interesting. So, because this is the big one, isn't it?
I think it is, Mike. I think it is the big one. But has it been de-escalated? Has it been priced in? I'm starting to think that, they've been several rounds of talks that don't seem to be at deadlock. They seem to be progressive, and if it's going to take a little bit longer, I think both sides have come to a position where they need each other. They definitely need each other.
Sure.
So I don't know, unless something really untoward happens, I think we are in a pretty much priced in situation. We might get a little shock. There may be a little shock, but I think it would be short-lived.
Oh, yeah. Look, and you can. I mean, I think that's a fair call. I mean, we've noticed already that every time there could be a little shock, the market just seems to think, whatever, on we go. So it would have to. I think it would have to be quite significant in terms of producing anything that resulted in a sell beyond what is seasonal anyway. So I would tend to
Yeah,
agree. I think the pricing that what's priced in is some sort of reasonable, um, reasonably mutually acceptable set of circumstances, which we're with the expectation that will be an ongoing months, if not years, back and forth to get to the final endpoint, whatever that may be. So I would tend to
yeah.
agree. I think markets have priced in something okay.
I think so, but I like that. I like what you said, Mike, about what is seasonally anyway, and could it be that this could be a catalyst for the seasonal sell anyway? Because you're totally right. We
Yeah,
are poised for a seasonal sell anytime from now to September, end of,
sure.
anytime within the next sort of couple of months to maybe even 2.5 months. But could a little shock there be because it's always a catalyst, right? It's always a
There is.
catalyst that comes in,
That's
and then as you rightly said, we are poised for what is a normal seasonal sell. I think from my perspective, I think I've said this before on the calls before, and to my guys, is that I don't think whatever it is, I don't think we're going to see anything like what we saw. I don't think we're going to see 30% drops in the NASDAQ or anything like that. Hence why at the moment, right or wrong, I'm still for the broad market ETFs for my guys, I'm still positioned 50% long because we picked it up so low that I'm thinking, well, yeah, we'll potentially have a seasonal sell-off, which is always on the cards. It doesn't have to happen. It can come early. Last year it came early in August. But at the moment, I can't envisage it's going to be as big. Could be wrong, but if anything, I'm thinking maybe a 10% dip.
Yeah, I was going to say, I
In
can't
the
see it
sort
be
of
more than
the
a
likes of the
correction.
NAS. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that would be
Yeah.
just on the NASDAQ. I wouldn't see that broad-based. I think those stocks
Okay.
have excelled, like those on the NASDAQ, I think could be. We may even see it 8 to 10%. Wouldn't be a massive surprise. It would be a surprise if it was more broad-based than that, I think, just because
Yeah. I mean,
as I
I
talked
think it
about before.
could go a bit more. You just never know. Maybe the S&P
Yeah,
drops
yeah,
10% and the NAS drops 12 or something like that. Volatile
sure.
stocks, they are the move. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. But I do like what you're saying with there's always a catalyst. Could it be China? Yeah, for sure. Could be. But I don't think it's going to be as devastating as as you say, what could just be our seasonal norm anyway.
Mm. Couple of interesting comments in the chat, apart from more hellos, which is always good to see. Yes, I'm in reference to the 1st of August. Rob says, you don't understand these trade talks previously, or I don't understand these trade talks, is what he said, not we don't. Trade deals would take 1 to 5 years. Why should we take these deadlines? Anything but self-promotion. I mean, I think it's like any market event. What happens and why it happens, etc., is not really our business. Our business is to take advantage of whatever the market is responding to, and we've seen obviously a lessening effect as time's gone on in terms of the trade talks, but they obviously have implications for the global economy. So if things aren't resolved, then we would see implications down the line which are beyond serious. Certainly already, if you look at some of the global growth predictions, that on the back of the tariff expectations, they aren't as good as they possibly were at the beginning of the year. But yeah, it's really to answer your question, Rob, whether we think it's right, wrong, or somewhere in the middle of that. The fact the market is responding to these events and these changes, and Trump's fingers on his keyboard as he pummels them into the latest post for Truth Social is what the market's responding to. So that's why it's business of traders, even if ethically and morally it's sometimes questionable. Is that fair to say?
We're dealing with a different beast, that's for sure.
Yeah, it is. I mean, look. I mean, those of you who are doing the EA programs and stuff, we've noticed a difference in the last 6 months in terms of how EAs are performing. Some are doing well, others perhaps not so much. If we look at the way volatility has swung, if we look at the impact of the first round of tariffs, or tariff impositions, followed by subsequent ones, the market has sort of brushed off. It's been a very, very interesting and unusual market, and that's contributed to, of course, by earnings season, which is staggeringly good. As I said, we reported, didn't we, last time? Cam, you put up a slide last time, I think, about expectations been for a good earnings season.
Yep.
And certainly third, I think 35% as of last Friday had reported so far. Obviously, we've got another busy week this week and next week before things start to tail off a little bit. But 80% beating expected EPS. I mean, I thought maybe 72 to 75%. And that's probably a little around about what's not unusual. But what is unusual is the 80% beaten revenue expectations. I can't remember at this stage in earnings season for probably since probably since the pandemic, and maybe even before that. The 80 and 80 were where we are with 35% reporting. Normally, you would expect maybe a best 70, mid 70s and low 60s to 65% beating revenue. So
Yeah,
it's a staggeringly good start, whichever way you slice it.
it is right. And it's just, and again, it's reflected in the market. You can see it.
Yeah,
I was also trying to think that, your stat, absolutely relevant, but I was also trying to think, have I seen the market going up this far, this long into the summer for a while? Like, it's still going. It's still going. So it'll be really interesting how we roll into August.
yeah, for sure. Because I mean, of course, earnings season takes us to when that starts to tail off. We're mid-August, really, aren't we? And
August is
then it's
Friday.
what's
That's unbelievable. Yeah.
that's incredible, isn't it? Um,
I know.
I guess the only thing, the blended year-on-year earnings growth rate, was expected. It was actually pre-earnings supposed to be 9%, but it's not as high as that. And it will actually be the lowest since first quarter 2024. But the fact that it's still growth, um, and even if it's not quite as much as was anticipated, is still positive. And the valuation, the 12-month, the forward 12-month P ratio for the S&P 500, 22.4 feels very high. But when you get an 80 and 80%, then it supports it. And that's why, I mean, if every time we get more good earnings and more good earnings come across the wires, it just seems to dismiss any chatter of potentially markets being overvalued, because the evidence is there. And of course, growth in growth in the tech sector, which is fairly obvious. It's there for all to see, and we've had some good news come across as well.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Absolutely. Really, that's what's driving things at the moment, to be fair. It really
yeah,
is, for
um,
sure.
Simon sort of asked the question: Do we think that earnings season has overtaken or has pushed the tariff chat into the background? I don't think so. I think it's just a supplement. If the tariff chat is dampened down because things seem to be getting sorted, and then you get good earnings on top, it's just another tick for the markets to continue to do what they're doing, for now at least. Um, Forward guidance is going to get punished, but there aren't many that are giving poor forward guidance at the moment. Now, do you want to just chat about Bitcoin at the moment, which is there's where it's at, or where it was last time I looked 3 hours ago. So we're almost at 120,000. It's in a range of about 4,000 at the moment, Cam. You've been talking cryptos and Bitcoin for a while. What are your thoughts here?
Okay, so we hit up to about 123,000 back in, let me just double check, back middle of the month, and our low since then was 114. So we've dropped about 9,000, and we sit in a very tight range, really, between 120 and 116, so about 4,000.
Yeah,
What do I think? Personally, I think we're going higher. Like, I still have there's a lot of sell orders. There's a lot of orders in the market, about 125,000. I would have thought we got there before. We didn't. But I think if we push up there, and I think we can push up there, because what we're seeing is any dip is being bought up at the moment. Like small dips, not big dips. Any dip at the moment is just getting bought up, and major money coming into the market. Sailor, MicroStrategies, just launched a new stock, which is essentially like a bond. Last week they went out for 500,000. Sorry, yeah, half a million. They came in with with 2.5 billion to come into the stock. So that's getting sorted out. That will be going into the market. I personally am looking at this, although while it very much represents, kind of a bit like a summer range, I think this is just coiling to go higher. As what I'm seeing, everything's getting bought up. There was I can't remember the guy's name, but they've sold 80,000 Bitcoin over the last week. No effect. If 80,000 Bitcoin was sold before, Germany sold 50, saw the market go off. It just shows how strong and the adoption that's happening at the moment from, as I think I reported here before, from not only the ETFs, but in the last quarter, the treasuries, so public companies buying Bitcoin, has been more than the ETFs. And then who knows on the back of that how much the sovereign wealth funds are buying. And then just, I think we've got the other slide, Mike, that Trump's come out and Howard Lutnick, that potentially they're going to give us a bit of an update of what's happening with the strategic reserve on Wednesdays to add a little bit more into the mix of what's going on this week. But all in all, I'm just going, this is going higher, and it's going to 125. It might just catapult through 125 and go to 130. That's where I'm at, unless something else happens. And okay, I think we'll drop down to around about the 110, 19 areas where I see there's a lot of orders sitting there as well.
Sure, it does feel, as you say, it does feel very much a bit like a coiled spring type of scenario, doesn't it? So I would share you, although I must admit I was skeptical about a move over 125, but that with this pause and it holding within this fairly tight range for right now, I can see that. I can see that happening
I
quite
think
easily.
so. Because what we've seen before is we've seen a move up and then normally quite a fast drop off, as sort of profit taking comes in. I don't see profit taking, or maybe those people that were going to profit take before have taken profits, because what you've also got is you've got the difference between who are the players now in this market. Before, you've got the guys and they've done phenomenally well that, were buying Bitcoin, for $1, $2, $10, whatever, and they've hit it out of the park, and maybe they've started to sell off. The new wave of buyers are, institutes, public companies. That's who's driving this price at the moment. Retail is not in at the moment, and I heard an interesting comment the other day of retail have no money anymore, because there's not been stimulus, no stimulus. Yeah. So I like that comment.
High interest rates, of course.
Exactly. I can't remember where I heard it, but anyway, I heard it the other day, and I thought that was a really great point, that actually retail are not quite in this at the moment. And not only is that a statement, we can see where on chain, where is the money coming from at the moment. So the difference is that the institutes are coming in, and they're coming in with a completely different perspective. They're not coming in to trade it as such. They're coming in to hold it for the next 3, 5, 10 years.
Yeah, for sure.
So these
pullbacks, I think these pullbacks look like retail pullbacks. And if you are right, when there's no reason to suspect that there isn't a lot of institutional buying going on, this is a classic accumulation type of place for institutions to start loading up before the next push higher. So with that background, then it sort of adds to the weight of evidence that this is going to go, and it's going to go hard.
Yeah, I do think so. But faced with the backdrop of what we've got this week, and that we've got sort of seasonally as well. But I'd be very surprised if we're not on the next call saying, yeah, it went to 125, maybe went to
Yeah,
130.
for sure.
Let's see.
We'll just I thought we've talked NVIDIA a couple of times, and we're going to talk Tesla in a minute or two. But just for continuation, let's just pop up an NVIDIA chart,
Mm.
and you can see pre-market what it's doing as well. Away we go. 179.50 is where pre-market's at right now. That's
What?
staggering.
Repeat that again, Mike. 179.
179.50 appears to be where it's at.
Jeez, that's
So looking at
incredible.
if this extended hours chart, let me just check on. Let's do a quick.
Let me check. Let me just double check as well. But that's incredible. Yeah,
I mean, I just know.
179.50
Yeah,
pre-market. That is amazing. So, Mike,
and
I
reassuring
had.
that the CFD is actually reflecting that as well.
I don't know.
Um,
It's pre-market. Pre-market price is there. So, ooh, amazing, amazing. I mean, Phil. I mean, I think we said before 190 is. I think
yeah,
that's where this is. If it can hold up above these 170 levels, yeah, it just seems an unstoppable train at the moment.
does
There's nothing that's pulling this back from April. Just keeps going.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I was surprised actually it didn't move harder and faster after the news last week, to be honest. Um, so I had that little retracement and then a buying come back in, but seemed to get stuck around this 173 area. But that's just staggering, staggeringly
Yeah,
good. If you
amazing.
the other one that I sort of as I said, we'll keep an eye on Tesla. It depends how you think the Chinese thing is going to go. But I actually thought if ETFs is a good place to be now in light of potential summer pullbacks um, and with everything going on, then maybe the Chinese ETF FXI, which I've just put on the uh, screen there, is one I'm watching. I like this if it starts to move over that 39 level, and I think this is. I'm pretty sure this is highs not seen for an awful long time. Let me just double check this. It might even be. Let's do our weekly. So this is levels. Is it all-time highs for this? No. So highs not seen since 2021 on FXI. So I must admit, I quite like this where it is. I think if we get some resolution in the talks this week and a continuation, I think we're destined to move higher, possibly up to $50. So I just think it's possibly worth keeping an eye on this from my point of view, in light of a continued apparent resolution to some of the trade issues with China. So just want to keep on your radar, and obviously technically, 39 was the high that we hit on the 22nd. So that's just one I like right now. I did sort of I saw it last week and thought, well, look, if it starts to challenge this, then it might be worth just keeping an eye on there, just because it's fundamentally supported anyway. It could be ETF time for ETFs as well. Uh, so on to Tesla, and I'll hand it over to you if you want to. There's the man himself.
There,
A little disappointed.
yeah, there he is. Anyway, Tesla's a great. Obviously, I'm very pro Tesla, and yeah, it's been a little bit tricky to hold this year. But I tell you what, we've had. If you guys are not in, then I don't know what to do because there's just been so many dips. I'm almost at the stage of not being able to buy the dip anymore. So I don't think I can buy another dip. Although I have been trading in and out of some options through the period. But yeah, amazing. So we had Tesla. I thought I'd just give you guys a quick update that I gave to my guys last week. So I won't go too deep into it, but yeah, we had a fairly flat earnings in the sense of the numbers weren't particularly good. The profit was down, the deliveries were down. The cash flow was actually sort of break even. And Elon seemed on the call feel it was a very flat call. There was really no sort of excitement about it. And I do wonder if our friend Mr. Elon was downplaying it. I do be interesting, Michael. I've got some suspicions. Does Elon want to get his deal done in November? Does he want
Yeah.
to get his deal done first before he really starts, bigging up things? But from my perspective, and a lot of the analysts' perspective, it was pretty positive. We've got the launch of RoboTaxi in Austin that's been going now over a month, and imminently new rollouts in Nevada, Florida, Arizona, and California going to roll out. So that is really, really good news. I always thought it's going to be a bit of a slow burn of the rollout of RoboTaxi, but it looks like we're getting that expansion coming in. I think we just need to be patient with that. But if they can all they need to do is get to the kind of the size of Waymo, and it's game over. I think it's game over. I think the street always want to see the reality first. But we're only talking about, Waymo have maybe about 1,500 cars. From my calculations, they could make 1,500 cars in an afternoon at Tesla. Um, so let's see these rollouts. I think some of them are going to be a little bit restricted by regulation and so on, but I think it's just that slow burn. And I think Elon on the call also said, look, the revenue from RoboTaxi is not really going to kick in until 2026. Equally, FSD, which is the full self-driving, getting potential approved in China and Europe. I think Europe's just going to be a long road. Europe is just, Europe, there's so many countries. I think that regulatory side will be a very, very long road. There's I don't want to, personally, I don't want to look into Optimus too much because I think it's for something further down the road. But it's very interesting that they've got an Optimus 3 now. So they've gone to a new level for Optimus, and they do plan for that to be working in the factories by the end of this year. But I think in terms of share price, that's probably something for us in 2027. I think we've got a quick map there, haven't we, Mike, of just that we're in Texas, California, Arizona, Nevada, Florida opening up. And I think what would just be interesting is the scale of how many do they start putting, and that's 5 states. When does it get to the stage where there's a couple of hundred cars in each state? Will be I think going to be the sort of tipping point, because once you can scale it to that size in one state, there's nothing stopping you going. In terms of, see, the big thing, and I'm not sure how well the guys are aware, but all of, like, Waymo is just retrofitted. It's a car they buy and they retrofit it with the LiDAR and the equipment, and it costs a lot of money. Whereas Model Y at the moment is what they're using, but once they use the RoboTaxi, be about $15,000 for a production of a car, and they can make one every whatever 5-10 seconds. So the scalability of once they get it right, and I think that's where they're really at. You sense the caution that's there, that they just want to get everything right. So there's no rush in a way, because once it's there, scaling it's no issue.
I mean, even though there is no rush, it still feels fast.
I think so. I do think so. I was surprised. I was telling the guy, look, let's just not have much expectation of this. For sure, they want to get it right, and they want to make sure it's safe, and they've still got the safety drivers sitting in the front just in case anything happens, although they don't necessarily do anything. But yeah, I agree, Mike. I think it is fast. And on the call last week, they were saying they were going to have these states up and running in the next couple of weeks. So I just thought, okay, well, that's a month or two, in Elon's world.
Yeah.
But it looks like it's happening.
It
So
does.
I think let's touch base on this every couple of weeks and just see where we're at. I want to remain a bit, I don't want to get overexcited about this. I think it's something for 2026, but it will be interesting once the street start catching up, because that's the opportunity at the moment. We've got a stock which is sitting at 300 levels. So I think that is I think you said it before, Mike, is the mispricing, that this, this hasn't been added into the stock at the moment. I don't think. This hasn't been priced in. So I still think, though I've been banging that drum for a while, current prices are still really, really great. Although, okay, fair enough, we were buying at better prices earlier in the year. But I think that this is a big mispricing if you can be patient and wait. And, I'm also waiting for the moment when I'm going to start shorting Uber.
Yes. Yeah, which is an obvious sort of counter trade, isn't it? It's got to impact. It's got to impact. I mean, it's really worthwhile, I think, over the next few months, just keep an eye on market chatter and just seeing when this becomes more and more part of the headlines on the CNBCs and the Bloombergs, rather than just a once every 2 or 3 weeks sort of reference to it. Once that starts becoming a regular part of the market chatter, I think the street are going to pile in. I would tend to agree. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I think I'll maybe pull some stuff together for the guys as well, of just like some of the analysts of where they think they're at the moment, because there's some positive stuff. Kathy Wood bought more. There is positive stuff at the moment, but I still think it's undervalued at the moment.
Yeah.
So okay, just very quickly then, Mike, maybe the rest of the call.
Yep.
I think I've got it here. Yeah. So yeah, interestingly also they do make their own chips. Now they're nowhere near NVIDIA's chips, but they are comparable to the H100s. So that's quite interesting that they're moving forward with that. And actually, I heard today they've done a deal with Samsung, which is a really, really big deal, which I'll have to write up on, to produce chips for them in the US, which is a pretty big deal. At the end of the day, I think the key thing is that they are preparing themselves for the AI revolution.
Yes.
Because if you're not ready and you don't have the components, you're going to miss out, right? So like pretty much NVIDIA is sold out, right? So this race is happening hard and fast, and I really see that these guys are on it. So they've got their own chips. Okay, they're not as good as NVIDIA, but they're still, they're buying chips from NVIDIA, they're buying chips from AMD, they're buying chips from Samsung. The energy side is really, really interesting because that was up, and at the end, I think I just included the market cap of the top X amount of companies, and really at the moment you could attribute the value of the company to the energy side of the business. That I see, in addition to RoboCap, really growing, because at the end of the day, what do we need at the moment? We need energy to run all of the AI that's happening
Absolutely.
super fast.
Yeah.
So, with their, again, well, not again, but just like with their mega packs, that are essentially storing energy, because the grids are producing energy, and that energy needs to be used, but they can regulate the grids by storing a lot of energy. I think it's just going to be massive over the next couple of years, and we're seeing that growing already with phenomenally great profit margins.
Do you see this
Maybe
splitting
just
off?
last. Um, where I see it splitting
It's
off.
kept under the same umbrella for right now.
I think so. I think there's more of a story of them including in. I think there's a story more of going. Do we get XAI to be part of Tesla?
Right.
Which I don't think will happen. But there's a bit more of a story of that of trying to get that, and then trying to get that would increase Elon's votes as well. So I think that's more the story, but yeah, I don't know. I don't see it splitting off at the moment. Although, yeah, for sure, he has all of his other companies.
Yeah.
Um, and then, yeah, just lastly, there's been a bit of a calling for a cheaper. Obviously, Tesla are not in the budget zone of cars, so there has been a calling for a cheaper version. They have said that this will come out this year. So that will be interesting. It'll open up that marketplace. Personally, that's great. I think it will help in the short term of maybe getting those sales up while they ramp RoboTaxi. But
Yeah.
I think for myself, the focus is on RoboTaxi, and then essentially they become their own customer. Just
Sure.
making cars to deploy them.
Yes. I
So
mean, it's fascinating. It fascinates the heck out of me what they're up to. It's so clever. It's so clever in terms of where they're taking things. Um,
yeah, I think so. Absolutely. So look, I think it's if you're not in Tesla at the moment, I think it's time to buy. If you are already in, it's time to be just patient and hold.
yeah, everything points to that, doesn't it?
It certainly
Um,
does, mate.
right.
Oh, yeah,
And
maybe that last
last thing,
slide. Yeah, just highlighting where Tesla's at the moment. The 10th largest company in the world, at a trillion, and on the call, Elon saying, look, we're going to be the largest company in the world. And even, some calculations I was looking at from some of the analysts, once you get into looking at, RoboTaxi, once you get into looking at, Optimus, this could be a 20 trillion, a $25 trillion company.
yeah,
In time. In time. You're looking at 10, 15 years.
yeah,
But interesting, even if we were just to say, okay, well, look, it went 4x to being the size of NVIDIA, you know, nice jump on the stock, really.
absolutely, absolutely. And you wouldn't bet against him for sure. Um,
You wouldn't. Oh, Simon's just saying that Uber's already dropped 8%.
oh,
Okay,
so a quick look at it.
interesting.
Have a quick look at an Uber chart. Why don't we?
Yeah, we need to keep an eye on that one.
Okay. So it's dropped down from kissing not far from $100 down to 90. Oh,
Yep.
it looks as though it's holding on here. I don't think Uber reported yet. I'm not sure, but I don't think they have. Maybe that's what the market's in waiting for around with this price action here. But you could see this if we do get a breach of let's say 90, you could see this down at 82, another down another 8 or 9% pretty quickly, I would imagine. Technically, anyway, without all of the. Let me just check in on Uber's.
You've got a big gap at 85 as well.
Yeah, well, let's just quickly have a look at Uber's earnings today. 6th of August, not that far away, a week away. So that could be worth watching post earnings if they start to. Yeah, that's worth keeping an eye on for sure. Right. Where are we? There we are. So that's really what we were going to cover, guys. As always, Cam, it's great to just have a chat about markets, the world, everything. Any other questions or comments from you guys? Always will. And as you're thinking, don't forget to pop into the Discord channel. And do you want to put your Telegram link into the chat there, Cam? I'll do likewise for
yeah,
Discord.
Yeah, sure. I will do that. And there's a question about is RoboTaxi, is that for buses as well? They actually did come out with a bus prototype version. I don't think that will be deployed maybe in the short term. At the moment, what they're focusing on is using the Model Y for the RoboTaxi. And then there will be a RoboTaxi that's deployed later. Buses, definitely, they had a model that could be part of that as well. I think that the more imminent is the semi-truck, which will be deployed end of this year. So that is another whole very interesting angle of trucks being able to drive themselves.
Sure. Yeah. So,
And be a lot. We can maybe touch on that on another session and sort of drill into how much more cost effective they are. But I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars more cost effective just in terms of fuel. But then if we talk about drivers as well, will be incredible. And there's really just not. A friend of mine sent me a company, and I've forgotten a lot of things today. Forgot the name of that company, but there's also like a Waymo truck out at the moment that does work. It's retrofitted on Volvo trucks, and it can work on lidar in a gridlocked geo fenced area. But Tesla go to a completely different level. That they are bespoke machinery, and they're working on cameras and neural nets, and you could drop it somewhere and it'll work. Not to say that they would do that straight away with self-driving trucks, but I think that will be huge as well. Big game. I mean, transportation. We are looking for some big changes.
sure, for sure.
Yeah, 20 tons crashing makes a mess. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Planes.
Yeah.
I mean, planes are autonomous already, are they not? Pretty much.
Yeah, apart
Um,
from a little bit of intervention, takeoff and landing, they are pretty well autonomous, aren't they? I thought they were.
yeah, from what I understand, chatting to a few pilots, um, yeah, I think it's what was interesting, and again, maybe I'm wrong, but I chatted to a few pilots, and they said that actually the human is better taking the plane off and landing the plane than the computer.
Yeah.
But the computer is better landing the plane in, and we've got a few pilots here, I know. It's better landing the plane if there's no visibility.
Right.
If there's no visibility,
Interesting.
the plane, and again, I might be mistalking. I was talking to an Emirates pilot at the bar on the plane, and he was a Manchester boy. He seemed to be very Scottish, liking his whiskey. But that's what he was telling me, the plane would land it. They would deploy the autopilot for landing the plane in zero visibility, or otherwise a pilot is actually better landing the plane. So interesting. So
Interesting.
no Tesla
Very.
planes, no Tesla plane at the moment. Yeah,
And yet, yeah.
yeah,
Good
planned.
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, look, we've once again, thank you for being um, with us, for your participation. It's always really welcome. And look, if you have any ideas or thoughts about topics you would like us to cover, in terms of having a little discussion about where we're at with stuff, then by all means, pop them into the Discord channel, or send us messages to our individual emails. Um, Always happy to. This is your session. Apart from us having a little bit of fun chatting markets and trading and the like, it is your session too. So more than happy to entertain anything you want us to talk about. Thanks very much, Gene. Cheers, Johnny, and Cameron. Thanks so much, mate. It's always a pleasure and a privilege just to share a bit of time with you. We've got another session in a couple of weeks, by which time we should have, um, you would think, some resolution on China as that date has gone past. We should have the end of earnings season to see if the early enthusiasm was continued, and no doubt some more interesting market events to talk about. So thanks, mate.
No, thank you, mate. It's always great to come on and have a bit of a chat and talk about the things that we do very much every day, and share it with the guys. So we really appreciate you guys coming along, listening to us, and hopefully it's all beneficial. And yeah, I mean, look, forget a couple of weeks, mate. I'm just excited to get to the end of this week. In fact, every day is going to
Absolutely.
be every day.
It's
I couldn't believe
every
it.
day's a market party, isn't it, really?
Oh my
Um,
God, I couldn't believe sort of writing a little piece at the beginning of the week, just going, oh my God, this is what's happening. This is what's happening. And then
yeah,
realizing, oh my God, there's even more happening this week.
I know, I know.
So let's get to the end of this week. Okay,
Sure.
maybe a real quick final one, Mike. Real quick final
Go for
one.
it.
With so much happening, what's your plan? I mean, what's your plan? What is your plan? I mean, I'll let you know what my plan is, but what's your plan for the week? How do the guys, or how do the guys, deal with a week like this where we just really don't know what's going to happen?
It's really interesting. From an EA point of view, it's sensational because what it does potentially is it really gives the EAs a stretch. It says, can you cope with this level of
Mhm.
um, potential significant market moving events? So that's great. From a discretionary point of view, it's it's shorter time frames. It's not holding positions overnight unless I've got an exit EA in place, that runs it for me once I'm in. Um, but yeah, it's a shorter time frames. Looking looking at session opens appears to be where, as always, where a lot of the action and the new price moves are. So, but it is a case of not being greedy. It's unless you're in it for a medium to long term hold, I think you get a reasonable chunk of profit, and you say thank you very much, and start to reduce in that, in case there's a social post that flips it the other way in a heartbeat. So I think it's a market where there are opportunities, and those opportunities will last, from a short-term point of view, will last for some time. But I think it's also worth not being a greedy bugger about it all, and recognizing that bank profit is a good profit. So that's probably where I am. It's probably the shorter time frame. Wouldn't be interested in holding anything that, unless I was interested in the long term, wouldn't be interested in short-term stocks, stroke share CFDs. I think there's merit in, there's too big a gap, too much going on in between market open and close. As I said, unless you're in it for the medium to long term, is where I am. What about
overnight?
Yeah.
Market open, market close, and overnight action. Yeah, well, I mean, most of my stuff is sort of medium to long term, so there's not a lot that I can actually do, to be quite honest, apart from what I've already done. I think I said on the call last time that I was very focused on closing out certain positions. So the broad market stuff, the ETF, the QQQs, the SPYs, the DAX ETFs, anything very broad market, I've taken an element of profits on that I'm happy with, on the basis that I just don't think we're going to have the dip that would take me back to the entry levels. So from that side, that's protected. For the likes of NVIDIA, that it's very difficult, isn't it? I mean, what do you do with your long-term video hold? Nothing. I mean, really the answer is nothing. And if there's a dip, buy some more. Tesla, we're pretty much just playing the yo-yo dip anyway. So there's not a lot to do there.
Dip take 10%, dip take 10%, dip take 10% is the way it is, isn't it, with Tesla?
It is. It is. I mean, it will just rocket at some point. But yeah, it'd be interesting what the next hit is. But anyway, I'm sure it'll come. But yeah, but from that side, and then maybe my kind of shorter term investment trades, I've pretty much got them all. I think pretty all but one is risk free. So the shorter term. I mean, I say shorter term; they're more like swing trades.
Sure.
That kind of stuff is I'm very much looking at protecting, because in case there is a sharp move, which equally, if there is a sharp move, I'll be looking to take advantage of it as well.
Yep. I think that's prudent.
So yeah, so just sort of protecting those moves, those positions at the moment for the shorter term time frames. Yeah, that's the play. But I think to touch on what you said as well, Mike, in terms of the day trades and stuff like that, I think it's absolutely no overnight holds. Not necessarily tight stops, but just getting risk free as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Partial closing something, even moving the remaining part just above break even, means that you're in a good place. You're in a good place. You get there, and it makes sense. It makes sense in any market, but particularly this type of market where it's very news orientated. So good stuff.
Absolutely. Excellent. Cheers, Mike.
Lots of nice,
Cheers, guys.
lots of nice comments in the chat, in the questions box. Thank you very much, guys. It's always so appreciated, not only that you're here, but also that you communicate that it works for you. So you guys take care, trade safe, eh? And we'll see you again somewhere, sometime. And if not before, in a couple of weeks. See you soon.
Cheers, guys.
Cam, take care of yourself, mate.
Cheers,
Catch you
mate.
again soon.
Take care. Bye.
See you.